And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that knows that there are lies, damned lies, and political statistics.
And political statistics, there are political truths and then there are lies. And there are known knowns and there are known unknowns.
Exactly.
Unknown unknowns.
And those are the ones you got to watch out for.
And those are the ones you got to watch out for.
Presumably the unknown knowns, right?
The unknown knowns, correct.
If you know shit and you don't know that you know it, I feel like that could get you into trouble.
That can get you in trouble. And that's how we've been put into trouble because I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And we are doctors.
Not doctors.
This week, we are going to come to you twice. We had, as you know, we have jobs and we have lives. And so we weren't able to get a show done on Friday. But we are able to get one done today on Monday. And we're going to get it out as soon as possible. And obviously, we're going to come back to you next week as soon as we can, because the Epstein files are supposed to be, by law, released by the Trump administration. So that's going to be perfect and fine. And there's not going to be any issue with them. But we'll be there to kind of talk through what's come out, if anything's come out, if it's not just a giant black bar with just with just Bill Clinton's name in it. I think it's going to be just like a beautiful Chris Mahana Kwanzaa present for everyone. Absolutely. I mean, I think, we've talked about it a lot, but it'll be, it should be a big moment. It's weird that it's right before Christmas, but that's just the timings and whatever. So, we'll get started here with some of the sadder news that has been hitting the stream the past 2 days. On the same day, there were I'm sure there were shootings every day because it's America. There are people that happens every day. But on the same day, there was an attack on Bondi Beach on a Hanukkah celebration and an attack at Brown University.
That's right.
In the United States. And kind of at the exact same time, these two things occurred. And it is obviously, horribly sad to have to frequently go through this for Americans. But when you don't live in America, I think we have to remind people that that this isn't normal.
Right? Like this is the kind of thing where if you're an American, you're so used to it, it's horrible. Like you're intellectually aware this is bad and it should stop happening, and it doesn't happen everywhere. So why does it keep happening here? And yet at the same time, Americans have become a little bit deadened to it and realizing, like when this happens in Australia, this is massive national traumatic news. And you remember, that's right. Other countries just don't live this way. Yeah,
it is an extreme rarity for a country to have to go through a mass shooting even once. I mean, a lot of countries have had maybe one, maybe two mass shootings. Some countries have had, people drive their cars into markets and stuff, which is also horrific. But these don't happen with the regularity in the United States. So let's first turn to Australia, because that's just a completely wild account and story of what's happened. So basically, there was a Hanukkah celebration on Bondi Beach, and two people who are now been suspected to be a man and a father and a son started opening fire on this crowd, killing 10, I believe. Correct?
I believe that's the current number. Well, at the very least, I mean it. I think it might actually have been more than that, come to think of it. Let me consult the internet very quickly on that, because I don't want to be spreading false information accidentally.
Well, of course not. I mean, but basically a person opened up fire on this crowd.
15. I'm afraid it's 15 people. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. 15 people were killed, and that's tragic. But
16 people were killed.
Now it's 16.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the current information that is available on Wikipedia, which seems to be a relatively good source these days. So that's good to know. Just awful.
So
just awful. Sorry, continue.
But the weird part about it is the shooters, at least one of them, was taken down by a member of the public who was unarmed and was shot. And he hid it behind a car. He tackled this person. So Patrick hasn't seen the video, but I have. So basically,
walk us through it.
People were videoing this. So people have taken video of the people shooting from the bridge into the crowd. The police said that that there were explosive devices in the cars of the attackers. But in this particular case, a person basically hid behind a car in a parking lot and then snuck up on one of the people who was shooting at the crowd and took him down, grabbed the rifle out of his hand.
Oh my God.
And then pulled it out, disarmed him, and then pointed the rifle at the guy. Now, at the attacker. Now, this is what was so wild is that in your head, you're thinking that like, these people who commit these crimes, you think that they're like trained, or you think that they have like that they are trained assaulters. They're not. Right. He had the physique the shooter had the physique of an out of shape, middle-aged man. And when that when that rifle got pulled out of his hand, he was obviously startled. He he knew he was dead to rights, quite literally.
Right. Yeah.
Because the person who had pulled the gun out of his hand had him in his sights, but did not kill him.
Wow.
And he could have. Yep. I mean, or he could have shot him anywhere, but he didn't. Yep. And the guy, he tries to get up and he stands and he falls backwards and falls ass over feet, trying to get back, and he starts running back to, I guess, his son or whoever the attacker was. I don't know if it was the father or the son, and they're trying to get away. Obviously, they don't get away, and I believe they've been charged.
The father was shot dead.
Oh, sorry. The father.
Yeah, the son has been taken into custody. It's just, I mean, number one, it's a horrific attack. There is apparently some indication that or at least there are reports that the two killers had pledged themselves to Al-Qaeda, or to, well, actually, no, is it Al-Qaeda or ISIS? I am now officially forgetting which horrific organization is currently on the leaderboard for this one. But yeah, so like there's some indication that this is ideologically motivated. And what's particularly interesting, though, about this whole situation is that the hero who wrestled that gun out of a killer's hands and got shot doing it, this man's name is Ahmed Al-Ahmed. He is an Australian, and it's one of those sort of situations that just reminds everybody, that this is an attack on Australians, and it was foiled in some degree by an Australian. And the motivations by the killers is one thing, but the humanity of the victims is entirely another.
They have pledged themselves apparently to the Islamic State, which when people say that, I'm always like, well, you can. It's not like you could just declare that, right? Like, and you can declare I'm doing things for this organization. But I think that like this is kind of the big shocker to Americans that this person did not unilaterally just take out this guy, right?
That's true.
The compassion of the victim here is unbelievable. I mean, and this person is a literal hero.
Yeah.
So it is.
He risked life to save the lives of others. And got like wounded doing it. Like, So I don't know. What do you say about this other than like this kind of rancid anti-Semitism is absolutely horrific and has no place in the world, and also the heroism of normal people should never be discounted.
I think that's what you say. I mean, and that's really helpful. And we'll have to keep an eye on it and see what happens in the next coming days and weeks, and hopefully the communities who are affected, are able to recover. It's unfortunately that that this happens, and but by the efforts of people like the person who took down the gunman, we can help try to heal the rifts. Because this is a tragedy. Yeah. Speaking thereof, in Rhode Island and Brown University, there was another shooting. A person opened fire in a classroom at around 4 o'clock, and basically and killed two students. Killed two people there. Killed two students. Their person of interest has been taken in. I don't want to say too much about the person of interest. What are you going to say?
Well, okay. So on the issue of the person of interest, there's some interesting controversy there. So Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, sort of announced that they had taken in a person of interest, that they got the person, and then Trump, being informed of this, immediately goes out on social media and says yes, and we've got the guy, and then the guy got released because it turned out there was literally no evidence against them. So it's just another fantastic situation of Kash Patel being obscenely bad at his job, insofar as his job as to run the FBI and solve crime. If his job is to be an asshole jester online, I mean, he's killing it. Just absolutely killing it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the issue: is that this is not the first time that there's been a shooting where Trump has tried to immediately jump to the center of the conversation, and not make the entire conversation about the victims and their families and the horrific epidemic of gun violence in America, because he can't. And again, Kash Patel, who is inexplicably the FBI director, said, we got the guy, we have the guy. Whoops, we don't. Whoops, it's not him. Whoops, we made a mistake. And before you announce that you have them, just check first.
Yeah, maybe run that past the guys in the office. Just be like, hey, I understand we took someone in, we're questioning him. How sure are we that we have all the evidence we need to prosecute? And if they come back and say, oh, we have no evidence, maybe put the brakes on that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and this is what's I just can't stand it. It's just, we know that in the space of this tragedy, that people of both political leanings are just holding their breath.
Yeah.
I did recall. I'm sorry, I was thinking about a different thing. I do think that until we figure out who the shooter is, if we figure out who the shooter is, you're going to have a holding pattern, and there's going to be lots of rumors, and there's going to be lots of lies flying around. And I'm going to be blunt, and it's probably going to be mostly on the right. We're going to be making up these lies to get people to already start the conversation about, this person was a trans activist or a trans this or a leftist that, because they need that kind of argument. And that's what's really pissing me off more about it than anything else, is that, when Columbine happened, we didn't think, who the two shooters or the shooters in Columbine, we didn't well, what is their political affiliation?
Right.
But now when there's a shooting in America, we wait until we figure out whose political side is going to have to start, eating crow over this, or pretending as if it wasn't their issue.
Right.
And that's a really sad indictment of where we are.
I mean, the thing is, right, we have political violence in America. There is quite a bit of violence that happens in America that is ideologically motivated, right?
Yeah.
And it's not restricted to one side of the political aisle. There are people from pretty much every political ideology who are, armed and decide to commit a horrible crime in order to further their particular viewpoint. But insofar as we're trying to keep score, the numbers are really obvious. More than half of all political violence is by the hard right in the United States.
Yeah.
The FBI have run the numbers on this. The people who study this is a very consistent trend ever since the 1980s. It has consistently been the hard right that has committed more than half of the political murders. And I think about 25% have been by Islamists, right?
Yeah.
So the number of trans Marxist radical whatevers who've engaged in horrible political violence is incredibly small. So I don't know, man. If I'm going to play that stupid game, at least I know which side I'm betting on. But my God, what an awful game to play.
Yeah, and it's not a game. I mean, it's politically, it's about the political maneuvering and strategy in America right now.
Yeah.
I mean, when Charlie Kirk was killed, it was the first time we'd really seen any compassion from the right over a shooting.
I shouldn't laugh about that. I should not laugh about that, but I laugh because it's so true.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of shocked by how true that is.
Think about that. Like, for a lot of these people, it was like the first time they'd ever, like, witnessed a shooting in America. And they're just like, I can't believe this is happening in my country. They're just like, whoa, this happened the same day. There was another school shooting that we don't really talk that much about because of the Kirk shooting on the same day.
Well, and and to be perfectly blunt, Charlie Kirk was very clear on how the right should view the kind of mass violence that we have in the United States, the kind of school shootings we see, that these are necessary sacrifices to make for the freedom to own weapons. That, like, it's better to have a system where anyone can own weapons, and also, your children have a non-negligible chance of getting murdered at school, versus a place where no one has access to weapons and children don't.
Or just a much lower ability to gain weapons. Like, you can have guns in Australia. That's like, you could be a legal gun owner in Australia, in Switzerland. Here in the UK, owning guns isn't the problem. There's something else that's going on, but it's also the ability and the ease with which you get that weapon.
Yeah. And the fact that, like, and the fact that it's still incredibly controversial in the United States to say, if someone has been threatening to murder their, spouse, maybe they should not be allowed to own a gun. Like, that's seen as being, a step too far, a bit too radical, just because someone's, and got a history of domestic violence.
Exactly. And that's just part of the political strategery, if you will. It's part of the political strategy that is predominantly on the right, who is the standard bearer for the Second Amendment in the United States. And, hopefully, knock on wood, pray to whichever God you worship, that this is the last one of the year. It's December 15th. Hopefully we won't have to deal with this until next year. But it would be a bad bet to say that we are not going to deal with this again.
Yeah, it would be
so sad.
It would be a brave bet. I'll put it that way.
And outside of general violence, and we have knife crime here in the UK. We have crime in other like, there's no crime in countries that don't have the Second Amendment. There's crime in Sweden for fuck's sake. But America just seems like it is like built into the DNA. I mean, you talked about political violence earlier. Political violence is built into America's DNA.
Absolutely.
So
how many presidents have we lost to assassination? Seriously.
Question.
Well, there's at least 4 that I'm aware of, just off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
And God knows there've been enough attempted assassinations as well.
Yeah.
Donald Trump,
Roosevelt. Yeah. Donald Trump, Theodore Roosevelt.
Exactly.
Gave a speech with a bullet in his chest. Andrew Jackson.
That's true. Yeah. Andrew Jackson, his assailant misfired. So the man in his 70s with a cane beat the man who tried to murder him almost to death with that cane. Andrew
That's
Jackson
right. That's
was
right.
a scary man. He was a very scary man. Yeah.
But we will get onto that later. And so we had those two. We just want to touch on those really quickly, and obviously we won't talk on it too long. But then the death of Rob Reiner and his wife, which is again completely shocking and sad. And while we won't talk about it this time, we might do a short about it when Patrick has cooled off. But the response of the president of the United States to that death is probably the worst thing he's put out in a long time.
It marks an incredible low for him as a human being. Like, so what he does, Chris, is he decides that after this, Rob Reiner, for those of you keeping score at home, this man is a fucking titan of American cinema, right? Like, this is a guy who has a career that lasts over 50 years. He has done just tons of classic movies. He directed When Harry Met Sally. He directed The Princess Bride. Yeah. Like, he's like, oh my God, he directed This Is Spinal Tap. Yeah. Like, he was meathead on All in the Family, man. Yeah, he is a large part of American culture for a long time. And also, he's well known to be a mensch, He's known to be a good man, as well as being someone who is just culturally, just incredibly influential. So Donald Trump responds to his murder by insulting him, saying he was a very talented but troubled filmmaker, and that he was probably murdered because he annoyed everybody with this Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Which I like. I mean,
yeah.
The person who said the worst things about Charlie Kirk didn't come close to that level of scumbaggery.
That's that's a very good way of putting it.
I mean, my God.
Yeah. And again, this is, we're all supposed to be, reverential over the deaths of others. But in this particular case, the president of the United States basically claimed that the man was killed because he didn't like Trump, which is, here's
the thing about what Donald Trump has just done. He has set the tone. And as he has responded to the murder of National Treasure Rob Reiner, like that, no one is ever going to have to pretend to be sorry when that man dies, as he will, as will we all, because that is the way of things.
That is how things work out, and so this
man will not be mourned.
I mean, and we can talk more about his health later, but so let's move on to the UK. Got to cool down. Thank you for keeping it.
Okay. Good. I feel like I did a pretty good job of.
I think you did. Let's move on to the UK, though, real quick.
Yes, please.
Because got a couple of notes here about some stuff that's been happening over the past about week. One of the bigger ones is that Reform UK Limited has declared that they are bigger than the Labour Party. And my question is, are
they bigger than Jesus?
well, no, because, and I know they're not affiliated, and I know there's no connection between Stephen Yaxley Lennon and the Reform Party, obviously.
Ooh,
but Stephen Yaxley Lennon had a Christmas Carol concert on this weekend where they were expecting hundreds of thousands to come out to basically turn Britain into America as far as religion is, and only 1,000 people turned up, and that's still a lot of people. But it isn't.
That is not enough people for what they were. Really? Did they actually say that they were going to get 100,000 and then they got?
I don't know if they said it, but I mean, you're trying to create this American, Christo fascist ideology, this authoritarian Christianness that, is, you have to be an individually great person. There's no need to help the poor. Like the American Christian ideology is so very far from what Christianity is. And for some reason, Tommy Robinson's picked this up. And who knows why,
it's just part of the international movement known as fascism, Chris. Like that's all that this is. This is just the newest branch of the fascist international, and they're all, because of the internet now, they can have international fascism instead of national fascism,
and it's a lot easier, and you can ship money out quicker, and Bitcoin
exactly
exists.
Right. And you've got a pre-existing mold they could just use as a cookie cutter in whatever country you want to go to. Right?
Well, in theory, yeah, but we can talk about how it just it takes a long time to let that mold set, and it's incredibly fragile. And because democracy, turns out people like it. So
and also make the UK great again does not work as an acronym because you just get MAGA, and that's
well, it's even worse because in order to try to supplant the religion. So in America, we don't have a state religion, right? Yep. Therefore, we have all these variations of Christianity. If you go to the South in America, you can't go 10 minutes without seeing 3 churches.
Oh, absolutely. And they will be entirely different denominations.
Yeah.
Although they will be probably relatively alike in terms of their out.
There'll be so many different churches, but here in the UK, to try to supplant the kind of this Church of England, this secularism that's here as well, that's just I don't know. Anyway, moving back to Reform. So they said that they have now 270,000 members, and apparently Labour Party membership is at 250,000, and the Green Party apparently is up to 170,000.
Wow.
And there's a couple of things here, and one of them is: does party membership numbers matter?
That's a good question. I mean, so for our American listeners, you may be thinking to yourselves, "Wait, what? There's millions of people. There's like 65 million people in the United Kingdom. How are there only 270,000 members of the Labour Party, which is the ruling party?" And the thing to keep in mind is that in the United States, to be a Democrat, all you have to do is say, "I am a Democrat."
Yeah.
And if you want to, you can register when you register to vote as a Democrat or as a Republican or as a Libertarian or as a member of the,
monster raving loony party.
If there were only a monster raving loony party in the United States, Chris.
One lives in eternal hope.
Yeah, exactly. Right. One day we'll bring the revolution there. But so in the United States, there's no barrier to entry. It really is just sort of, you register as a member of a political party, and then you can vote in their primaries if your state has closed primaries. And
that's right. That's right.
Don't. So like, there's really no benefit to like registering particularly, but also there's no cost. So about 1/3 of people register as Democrats, about 1/3 of people register as Republicans, and about 1/3 of people do not register as a member of any political party. And that's sort of how we're used to thinking about it.
I think it's also good to point out that you obviously know you can be a member of these parties. You can do the same thing. You can pay up and be a paying member of, and go to conventions and stuff,
that's
be
true.
A delegate. But that is very different from how Americans perceive being quotes unquote in a political party.
Exactly. That's proper political nerd shit, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in the United Kingdom, the party structures are a lot more, they're a lot more solidified, right? So to be a member of the party, to have voting rights of the party, to be able to attend the convention, to, play that role, you need to pay dues. You need to not be a member of any other political party for the most part.
Correct.
You need to, so there's real strictures. And there's an expectation that if you are a member of that party, you are voting for that party. And it is a problem if you vote for another party, right?
Yeah. And there's some more stuff in there. So unlike, I'm sure there's similar organizations in the United States, but in here in the UK, the local party apparatus has a lot of control. So being a member of the party means you can be part of that control function.
Right.
And so being a member of, let's say, the Labour Party or the SNP or whatever, you can help decide who becomes the candidate for a seat. Because there is no primary system. It just goes through your local, what they call constituency association. And then you go to them and you say, I want to be the candidate. And then somebody says, I want to be the candidate. There's a thing called a hustings, which is basically a primary. And then the winner of that hustings from just a very small group of people in your constituency, then get to select who goes out. So that's another benefit of being a member of a party that is very different from America, where if you want to stand to be a Democrat or Republican in a particular district, obviously there's the local party structures, but so many people get to vote for you by just ticking a box saying, I am party X.
Yeah. And the great thing is that if you want to run for your party's nomination, they cannot stop. Like, basically, it is, I don't think there's any mechanism basically to say you're not allowed to run for our nomination. No. The party could say, we don't want you.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of any.
That happened as well, because I think a person in Illinois, and I will check this, person in Illinois who was a Nazi.
Oh,
part of the American Nazi Party ran as a Republican, and they couldn't do anything about it.
Right. And so and like it's and so obviously if you're a Nazi and you're looking to embarrass a political party, this would seem to be a relatively low cost way of doing it, except insofar as then you actually have to run for office and everyone knows, oh, that man's a Nazi. So, and I don't know, I feel like at least before 2020, most people didn't want people to know that they were Nazis. Like it was seen as a thing you want to keep under your hat.
Yeah, it happened in 2018, I think. Yeah, it happened in 2018, and I think it was because nobody had stood against him. Something had happened.
Oh God! Oh no! So it was like an open. It was a clear shot then, because no one had filed to run, and he was just sort of like, screw it, I'm going to do it.
I think so, but it happened under the Trump administration as well. So it was just no. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. He got 20,000 votes.
All right,
and he ran uncontested. So yes, that was the case.
Oh my God. And the party wasn't able to like stop him from.
You can just say I am a Republican, I'm a Democrat, and they're like, okay, tick the box, pay the money, whatever. It's so wild. So that's what's interesting about like this number thing, right? So if reform has X many people, the number of people on the ground you need to get that machine running theoretically is a lot. And are those 270,000 people going to go out in the rain to tell you to vote for Farage because he's going to eliminate all immigration in the UK? Or are they just wanting to support the party, give him £5 or whatever, a pound or whatever, and, you know, register their interest? And then does that translate to, you know,
so the kind of
17 million votes
on the ground organization they need? Yeah, to translate your relatively small party membership into a much larger voting base.
Yeah.
It is worth pointing out that in the United Kingdom in the 1950s, these parties were mass parties. Like, you had millions of people as registered members of the Conservative Party, as registered members of the Labour Party, and the party apparatus was actually quite geared towards providing social services and providing, like, you know, meeting functions. Like, you would go to, you know, like a party meeting would be a social event in a sense. Like, it was a very different style of politics, and that really has fallen away.
That has gone today down by the wayside. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see if there's any benefit to this for reform. They're still, you know, on top of the polls. We'll see. You know, there's probably there is some time, I will say, before another general election, and there are a couple of big events here that will, you know, may affect the outcome or the eventuality of that election. But something else that occurred this weekend, which is of huge importance.
Yeah.
A new podcast was launched. It's not our podcast. It's in direct competition with us.
Really? A new kid on the block? Huh?
A new kid on the block. And I'm sorry to say it, you know, this new kid on the block has a few more listeners than we do, but that's okay because
I was going to bring her a welcome basket.
Now, how do you know who the new person is? I haven't said it yet.
I'm waiting for you to tell me. And so, yeah.
So, former Prime Minister Elizabeth Truss, known as Liz Truss, has started her own podcast in the vein of a MAGA cosplay disaster. It is one of the worst things that, you know, you can watch. Now, I'll be straight with you. I've been watching clips that aren't associated with her. I don't want to give her any clips because that gives her money. But I have been watching some analysis of this, and basically. What it is that she basically, it's her sitting at a desk with some stuff behind her, and this is called the Liz Truss podcast.
Okay.
And she's basically doing the MAGA line, you know, civilization is ending, immigration has killed us all. And then, but first, apparently, she had a long thing about how I was a prime minister of the United Kingdom and I did a lot of good things, and the system brought me down, not myself. Let's start there.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sure, Liz. That's great.
The system brought me down.
Known as the entire fucking country.
Everyone knew she was trash. Everybody, except for the Conservative Party for about 30 days of the 49 that she was in there.
And then they realized, oh no, we put the worst possible person in charge of an entire country.
Because they said, I don't want Rishi Sunak. Well, I don't want Rishi Sunak in charge. We'll have Liz Truss. You know, it's like, well, hang on, guys. I may not be the biggest Rishi Sunak fan, but he seems like he could rub two sticks together and figure some shit out.
Yeah.
I've been in Parliament for quite a while. And when she became prime minister, I was like, what the hell are you doing? She was terrible at giving a speech. She was terrible at creating arguments. She was terrible at logic. When she became prime minister, I thought, okay, let's give her some time, because it always really shakes people to become prime minister. Even Boris Johnson, you know, it takes time to find your feet, and there's so much going on. And I know it was only 49 days. But she never got better. She never changed from what she was. And she can't speak. The thing is that she cannot speak. Like, she cannot articulate arguments in a coherent way.
Has someone explained to her that on a podcast, the job is to talk? That's like literally what doing a podcast is? Engaging others with the clarity of your reasoning, you know, perhaps, or like having a good speaking voice, or, you know, having funny sound effects. Auga.
Yeah. No, she read her opening statement off a teleprompter, obviously off a teleprompter. And that's her worst subject. She can't give a speech.
Oh God, she doesn't understand the assignments, Chris.
No, so she's like, as I have said, the thing that it was robotic. It wasn't fun. It wasn't engaging. It wasn't good to listen to. It was just trash. And
no.
I'm like,
I'm not one of those who like looks at podcasting and says, this is a truly great art form that, society has thrown up that will one day be compared with the theater or with, sculpture. It is, it's a fun way to waste time and to say things and like, engage in like chat.
It's a good way to burn time.
Yeah, except for this podcast, which is obviously just, the best thing you could do with your time. Stop going to work and start listening to our podcast 24 hours a day. People, that's my unbiased advice.
We are unvarnished. We are pure gold. We are pure gold.
Exactly. But unvarnished.
Everybody else is trash. And I'm just, so there was that where she said, nothing was my fault. Everything was great. We were all out for lunch. And then there was the next one was, she had on some guests who are all various like neo MAGA people or MAGA people, like British MAGA people. And like the opening to all of these questions that she had. MAGA, yes. and what she had put out there was like, hey, why is Britain failing and where do you think it's failing? And everything is bad. But she didn't really introduce the person. She's just like, everything is bad, isn't it? And why would, a Trump style this be better? I mean, we're talking about just, there was no capacity to get like to give a proper intro to an introduction to an interview. There was no ability to like
she didn't
interrogate anybody because there's no need to interrogate. It was literally like, I mean, the title of her first one is The Deep State.
Oh God,
fucking deep state. Come on, man.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, okay. Here's the thing, right? If you were Liz Truss and your political career was beaten to death by a lettuce, right? Then, I mean, what do you do going forward? Like, she's kind of screwed, right? It's not like she has other skills that she can fall back on, right? It's not like she's going to go be a rocket engineer, or like go back to the law, or I don't know, flip burgers.
But you don't do that. As a former prime minister, you have so much access and information and knowledge, even if it's for 49 days. Like,
yes, but she's an idiot, Chris. So she doesn't know what to do with any of that. Like, if she did, she would not have destroyed the economy and increased my mortgage rate by 50%. So, yeah.
Let's not forget about Kwasi Kwarteng. Let's just make sure that we don't forget that he was part of this as well.
True. That's true. He worked really, really hard to screw everything up, and he should be given his dues. That is a good point.
He should be made aware. Yes, but I think this is part of the Liz Truss's attempt to suckle on the teat of the MAGA fat cow. That she's been orbiting MAGA for years and trying to make all these friends. And obviously they're just using her because she had the title prime minister, but they can't use her that much, right? If they had a Boris Johnson or a David Cameron or a Theresa May, somebody who was prime minister for a decent amount of time and didn't make a complete ass of themselves, then sure.
That would be a real get, but also that they wouldn't do it. Like they're
not going to do it. They don't need to do it.
Right. If you are Boris DePfeffel Johnson, you've got money. You don't need to prostitute yourself like that. More to the point, you don't need to prostitute yourself for somebody else to make money. No. You're going to figure out a way to do that yourself and make your own money, basically. You don't need to suckle off of the teats. You just need to hang around with your billionaire pals and they'll sort you out.
Well, yeah, for a fee. And they will, but you don't need. You don't like it. Those people didn't need to do this. And you can also tell her level of influence in the Conservative Party because she wasn't given a peerage, right? Like she's a former prime minister. She should be in the House of Lords by now.
Wait, has Boris got a peerage?
No, Boris hasn't gotten a peerage. I think
that's good. Before I do not want to. Lord Boris. No, I don't care for it. I don't care for it.
Yeah, Theresa May has a peerage.
I mean, that seems reasonable. She seems like the kind of person who could handle a peerage in the sense of continuing to look as if, she had never experienced a flicker of emotion in her entire life, but also wear fur doing it. So I feel like she can pull that off.
It's Ermine. Yeah. It's Ermine.
Yeah, the Ermine's going to work with her. So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is clearly like this, like trying to figure out how she's going to make money, but also, like the deep state, all the MAGA touch points, because she's just trying to get this probably a following in America that says, oh, she sounds all proper and all that, and then they were going to listen to her say this stuff, but like
there were limits, man.
But she's not fun to listen to. She's not engaging. She's just bad at public speaking. She's also bad with policy and also bad with the economy, and also that and the fact that she spent a considerable amount of time basically saying none of this is my fault. Everything that happened during my time as prime minister that was bad, which was almost all of it, was not my fault.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm not gonna lie and say that that's not a perfectly reasonable thing to say as a member of MAGA, right? Like, obviously, if you're in MAGA and you're in charge of anything, you're gonna fuck it up, because doing things competently is just not in your wheelhouse. That's not the point, right? If you're Kash Patel, if you're Dan Bongino, if you're any of the chuckle fucks that make up the MAGA extended universe, right? Your job is to screw up and then say, and this just proves how deep the conspiracy goes, right?
Well, then that's basically her podcast.
Right.
Let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I mean, but you gotta be engaging. You've got to, I don't know. What does she bring to the table? Because you know what she's going to have to do? And this is going to be the full marker of her absorption into the MAGA Borg, basically, right? Is when does she get the plastic surgery, Chris?
Ooh, I don't know.
Right? Because that's what you got to do. Like, that's the final step. That's like, your confirmation, if you're a Catholic. That's your bar/bat mitzvah. If you're Jewish, that's your acceptance into the community.
Your quinceañera.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's the quinceañera. And except that for MAGA, it's going to the plastic surgeon and having a face that looks like it's trying to run away from you, because it is. It's not just MAGA women who apparently have to do this.
Yes.
Seriously.
It's not just MAGA women. Everybody has to arrange their face to look pretty for himself.
Exactly.
So let's take a little break here.
Let's wash that image out of our minds.
Don't watch the Liz Truss podcast if you can. 67,000 people apparently have. I mean, she was prime minister, and it's going to be a dumpster fire.
I really want to know what those numbers are going to be by week 3. Like,
I mean, yeah. Let's see by week 3. Anyways, we'll be right back after no messages. And we're back.
We're back, everybody. I hope that you feel as refreshed as I do.
Yeah, listen, I had to go get my power cable. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes the breaks are for real things. And this time my power cable is needed as we make sure my computer has enough energy to record.
Sometimes we all got to recharge, Chris.
Oh, God, yes. Anyways. So let's cross to the United States again, and this time we're going to do it by way of the national security strategy issued by the Trump administration last week.
Now, we're still calling it that. I know that's the official name of the document, but it doesn't read like a national strategy document at all.
No. Yeah. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to read it all, but I have heard more than enough about it. Additionally, I am now going to be quoting from some of the Brookings Institute analysis of it. And basically, there's a lot of issues in here. There's some notable issues. However, they're basically saying that if you're Russia and you're reading this, you're hooting and hollering because you are super excited that America is saying, you know what? Fuck it. You guys are fine. I don't care what's going on with you. You can do whatever you want. If you're Europe, you're thinking that, hey, I guess America has officially said, fuck us. And that's where I want to spend a lot of my time. There's also a section there where they're trying to call it the Trump Colliery, and to the Monroe Doctrine, basically saying we can do whatever we want in South America and Central America. Don't get involved, Europe. So there's that as well. But I think that I want to spend most of my time talking about what happened, what they want to do for Europe. And I think we're not going to talk about the detail of the report. It's just what people are getting out of the getting basically what they're feeling here in Europe. And in short, this is the complicated part. The United States is saying that Europe is lost to the heathen forces of the Moors. There is no better way to put it than that. They're saying that Europe needs not diversity. It does not need inclusion or equity. It requires, for lack of a better term, more Christianity and requires more right-wing parties. Therefore, the United States will be actively getting involved in European politics behind certain parties such as, and they mentioned Reform in the United Kingdom and the National Rally. That's Marie Le Pen's deal. And the Alternative for Germany, which is the newest version of the Nazi Party.
Yes.
Literally say patriotic European parties. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck?
That's a reasonable response, Chris.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, God. Okay. So this is effectively a declaration that, okay, so I've been thinking about this, and this is what amazes me. Donald Trump comes into office, right, as the president of the United States of America, the most powerful country on the earth, the country that has been the global hegemon for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Ever since the end of the Cold War, the United States has been the preeminent power. Now, was it so powerful it could act entirely on its own and do whatever the hell it wanted without any negative consequences? Oh, God, no. No, because no country has ever been that powerful that they were the only ones who ever mattered, right? And a lot of what made America hegemonic in its power was precisely the fact that it had a massive, well-armed, well-organized alliance. So, I mean, the NATO alliance has been the absolute bedrock of stability in Europe. And one of the major things that has presented World War III, right?
Yeah.
So if you're coming in and you're the head of this incredibly powerful alliance, you're the head of the most powerful country in that alliance, and the United States, the US's problem has been overdoing it in terms of like acting as like the global hegemon, right? But so Donald Trump comes into this, and his response is, well, here's what we need to do. We need to go back to the 1800s and to spheres of influence, where the United States is no longer the most powerful country in the world. Instead, the United States is the most powerful country in America. And China could be the most powerful country in Asia, and Russia could be the most powerful country in Europe, and South America, I don't know, it's probably America. In Africa, who knows? It's a thing. Maybe Nigeria. It's all probably
for some
one
reason. Maybe
away.
Nigeria. Yes.
Who even knows? So I mean, like it's just basically like this massive declaration of we are weak and small, and we need to be a big fish in a smaller pond. And if that means just surrendering 4/5 of the world to countries that are not our friends, so that we become cut off, alone, we become impoverished, we massively jack up our prices because we're making imports more unaffordable for everybody. And then everyone stops buying our shit because they despise us because we're just being assholes now. Like it is as if Donald Trump sees his job as weakening the United States' power to a massive degree. And the irony is that he and the people who put him into power think that this is going to make America strong.
Yeah, that is true. That the first off, he's supposed to be the peace president, which this document is completely contradictory of, because they say both, we're not going to get involved in Europe, or we're not going to get involved. We don't care about Europe. But at the same time, we will do whatever we want to South America. We will do whatever we want to our side of the world. And I just again, I'm obviously more focused on the European part because I live here. We live here. And but more that Patrick is first off right that NATO has kept the world from descending into another global war. You could argue that there's a number of organizations that have stopped that from happening.
Oh, absolutely.
The reason why we have had a Cold War and not a nuclear World War III, for example, for a number of different reasons. But what I find most concerning about the way that Trump and the Trump administration, MAGA, are treating not just foreign policy, but America's power is that either it's going to stay the way it is, even if we do less, or, in my opinion, they are actively trying to weaken us on purpose. And for reasons that are currently unknown, but it does feel like ever since the beginning of the year, everything foreign policy wise has been done to appease dictators, to appease horrible people, and then MAGA turns around and says, "Aren't those guys great? Look at what they're doing. Look at how they're running their country." And then what's the first thing Trump did when he came in office? He tried to rewrite the U.S. Constitution unilaterally, which is now currently with the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah. That's on the issue of birthright citizenship.
On the issue of birthright citizenship. It's the first thing that authoritarians do when they get into power. They try to rewrite the book immediately to make sure they can't ever leave. Yep. And if you're steering America into the past, first off, and you're right into the Treaty of Westphalia territory, you stay on your side, we'll stay on our side. Sovereignty is sovereignty. Don't ever come over here if I'm going to... Don't ever come
sovereignty is sovereignty until we decide we need to invade you.
Until we need your stuff, don't come in here if I'm going to be torturing these various people. That's our job. That's our deal, right? Yeah. Like what they're doing, internet for Europe, especially with the overt, we're going to get involved in your politics now.
Oh yeah,
because
sovereignty is sovereignty.
Because sovereignty is sovereignty. That like everything that the Trump administration is putting out is getting us closer to us just being able to say, okay, like the fascism is now on the table, as opposed to, yeah, it's on the streets, but we have this. Yeah, it's over there, but we have this. But now they're like putting their pieces in place.
Yeah.
Right. And they're seemingly doing it in a bubble. They have no awareness of what's going on around them. They're just assuming that they're right. Yeah, because they're far right. So it's just so shocking that they're for no reason whatsoever pulling away from Europe and just running towards dictatorships like Russia.
Yeah, well, it's probably worth mentioning, right? That like at the same time as the MAGA movement has decided that Vladimir Putin is a swell guy and actually he's the real victim of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and yes. Actually Zelensky is totally a dictator, because he hasn't run for re-election because, the country's being invaded. And according to the Ukrainian constitution, you literally cannot have an election when the country's being invaded, because how can you get a fair vote when, 10% of your population or so is currently being held hostage by another power, you know? So, I mean, yeah. So I think it's probably worth mentioning that all this has happened at the same time as Russia has been engaged for decades in a massive psyop operation in the United States of paying people on the right to spew pro-regime talking points. And we know that this has happened. We know the names of the people who took the money. Tim Pool, we're looking at you, buddy. Take the beanie off. We know you're bald. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And it's not like it isn't happening here as well. Nathan Gill, former leader of Reform in Wales, a friend of Nigel Farage, sat next to him, and others seemingly having said the exact same things he was saying. Nathan Gill was convicted and is going to go to jail, I think, for 10 years for taking bribes from Russia to spout Russian propaganda talking points.
Well, you see, that's because in Britain there's a functioning legal system, Chris, which is a thing that America may want to look into.
Well, we'll see. I mean, in order to have a functioning legal system, you have to have a functioning legislature. You have to have you have to have the different parts of the system working fairly well and to kind of counter the political power, because political power is nebulous, as we will now talk about in the next section. Now, many months ago, many years ago in January of this year, Trump seemingly was on top. He was running high, but very quickly, because as we said, the MAGA people are putting their fascist pieces on the board very quickly and without any real care about what's happening as a result of it. He's starting to lose a little bit of his power. And frankly, I feel that it has much more to do with Epstein, but it also obviously has something to do with the masked police running around America, kidnapping people off the streets as they scream, I'm an American citizen. You know, I can prove it. Don't care. We'll arrest you now. Check later. And so what's their crime?
My real ID. Check my real ID. You know, that idea that the government has been saying you all need to get so that we know that it's a real ID. Well, here it is. Proving my citizenship.
Don't care.
Yep. Gonna take you downtown.
Into the hole with you until we figure out or decide to let you out. And hopefully you don't get processed so fast that you're shipped off to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's now December, and he's not as popular as he once was, and that popularity waned pretty quickly. But on MAGA, they gave him a lot of room to mess around.
No, they sure did. Like like basically the story of his popularity in the polls was that he started off actually slightly above 50% approval when he started his second term. And that's remarkable because that man had never gotten above 50% ever in his first term. Not after he got elected, not after he was in office, certainly not after he was in office for more than a week, because after that, his popularity started cratering and he ended up being deeply unpopular and turfed out of office, right?
Yes.
So he's come back in. This time he's got a majority that supports him, even if not quite a majority voted for him. Still.
49 point something percent.
And then he spaffed it right up the wall. His popularity starts dropping almost immediately. And it keeps dropping until April when he comes out with his ridiculous tariff plan. And
it's right.
And it's around this time that his popularity levels off in the mid-40s. And this led to months of the political talking heads in the United States saying, well, this just proves that Trump's floor is just incredibly high, and America's incredibly polarized, and it doesn't matter what Trump does, that he's always going to have 45% of the people behind him, and that's why MAGA is a real force to be reckoned with, and it's incredibly strong, and that's why we should probably just sort of give in now, and surrender to the oncoming fascist tide. And then the Epstein file thing started happening.
Yeah.
And then the masked thugs on the streets started happening. And then people started noticing, hey, prices are still going up and my paycheck isn't.
Yeah.
And so, basically in the last few weeks, his numbers have started sliding again. And now you have multiple high quality polls putting him somewhere around 36%.
36% approval rating.
Yeah, which is deadly. That's a real problem, because if you are a Republican and you are in Congress and you are looking at the midterms coming up in less than a year, if Donald Trump is this unpopular when that happens, there's going to be a bloodbath. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
It's a thing about we talk about it all the time. It's about coattails, right? It's it is a thing that I learned about in high school in poli-sci. Is that coattails is basically how much popularity does this particular normally it's a president have, and are people super excited about the president so I can ride that person's coattails into my office? And so many people in MAGA basically rode that Trump train into office, like people like Tim Scott, who's terrible. Just God, there's a lot of stuff I won't even put online about how I feel about Tim Scott.
Okay.
We might make it a Patreon exclusive if we ever get a Patreon. But
we could talk about Tim Scott. He's the senator from South Carolina, right?
Yeah, he's a senator from South Carolina who famously said, "I love me some Trump. I am not putting on an accent." That's how he said it.
Oh,
that's how he said it. And
I didn't know that.
It hurts every time I think about it, because it does pop in my head a couple times a day. Anyway, so
to be fair, that's when he thought he might have a chance of being Trump's vice president pick.
Yeah, that's right.
That was never going to happen.
It was never going to happen. Come on. Nope. Yep. You can't wear mascara like J.D. Vance. So the
eyeliner, Chris.
Eyeliner. I'm sorry, that's eyeliner. My bad. Guyliner. Yes. But as Trump's popularity wanes, those coattails become shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, not able to pull as many people along, which means that all of a sudden, and this is the duplicitous part about the MAGA movement in Congress, they know what's going on. Most of them are very aware. Marjorie Taylor Greene knows how bad this is. That's why she's leaving. And there's a rumor that a lot more of them are planning on leaving next year. They know that they have ceded their power. And they're like, well, he won't listen to us and all that. Like, you let him do that.
Yeah, you gave him all your power.
Yeah, you gave him all of your power.
You could take it back. You could take it back.
He could take it back, yes.
He'd be angry at you. And you can't have that, because then the MAGA people might kill you, because they keep making death threats against people that they don't like.
That's true.
Almost like it's a political movement that thinks political violence is useful, actually.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene is quitting, among other reasons, because of the threats that she got from not being a full-throated supporter of Trump. So popularity obviously is important. These shrinking coattails means that more people are now suddenly learning that they have power, and they're suddenly learning that maybe we should be using our power to investigate this highly unpopular president and his policies. And one of those policies,
multiple crimes that he has committed, which includes murder. It must be stated again for the record. He has committed murder over 80 times in the Caribbean. That is murder. So
And so one of the other policies that he had instructed all of Republicans to do across the country and all the Republican state houses was to redistrict the state houses to make sure that Republicans got an artificially higher amount of seats than they would otherwise get from already gerrymandered district seat plans. So that worked out in Texas, I believe, right?
Yes, Texas did pass its gerrymandering plan. It took a lot more effort to get that done than I think anybody was expecting. And it immediately led to basically a tit for tat from the Democratic Party. California, which is the biggest state in the union in terms of population, which has more Republicans in it than any other state in the union does. There's more Republicans in California than there are in Texas. Although, to be fair, there's more Democrats in Texas than there are in New York, a famously blue state. So,
America's voting, districting, constituency maps are all hyper fucked, and I wish we could just fix it, but we are not. We're not.
But the thing is, right, Chris? So, if you've got like 60-40 Democrat to Republican in California, right? And you've got, districts that more or less map onto that, you would expect the Democrats to have about, 3/5 of the seats, and the Republicans to have 2/5 of the seats. And that's a lot of seats, right? But if you're the Democratic Party of California and you've just seen Texas decide, you know what? Nah, the point of being in power is to gerrymander yourself to always have a majority and screw the voters. The only thing that you can do is do the exact same thing to counterbalance it. And so in California, they passed a constitutional amendment. The people of California voted by a large margin in November to basically say, yep, for the next 10 years, we're going to partisan gerrymander this thing. And we're just going to seize a bunch of Republican seats, given the Democrats. It's the only way to balance out what the Republicans are doing in Texas. And that is not a game that benefits the Republican Party.
So in addition to that, Indiana was also on the list of states that needed to do this in order to keep Trump happy. Indiana, famously a red state, famously
very. Like
Klan is a huge deal in Indiana.
I mean, okay, that's okay. Yes, in the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan's national organization was run out of Indiana. Literally, that was home turf for them. But still, it's been 100 years, Chris. I'm sure things have moved on. It's still a very right-wing state, and it is, I think, like 9 Republicans to 2 Democrats. I think in terms of, So the idea was to gerrymander Indiana so that it would be all Republicans and no Democrats. And Rand Paul, of all people.
Senator Rand Paul.
Yeah, he kind of said the quiet part out loud in terms of why he was against this idea. What he pointed out was, if you just say to people, you get no representation, that's when political violence starts happening. Well, if you just sort of say, it doesn't matter how you vote, you can never gain power no matter what the voters say. And, obviously he's putting it in terms of, Democrats going nuts. But like also, yeah, that's the problem with trying to fuck a democracy, is that the people of a democracy, they don't want to have their power taken away from them, do they? You know?
But I think here in this particular case, as last week we had, this redistricting thing happened earlier on the 12th, or early, I think early last week. The Indiana Senate was supposed to approve the map that I think gave no seats to any Democrats.
Yeah.
But it failed.
Yes.
And let's not forget that there are, I think, 50 seats in the Indiana Senate.
That's right. That's right.
Of the 50, how many are Republicans and how many are Democrats?
There are 10 Democrats, Chris, out of those 50 senators. The rest are Republicans or Republican aligned. So it's, it's pretty heavily, massively weighted towards the Republican Party. And if the Republican Party wanted to do it, they could have done it.
If they wanted to do it, they could have done it, but instead they voted 31 to 19 to defeat the bill. That was on Thursday, sorry.
Yep.
So 31 senators voted against this redistricting. They wanted it to go. They didn't want it to happen. And obviously, if this was February 2025, February of this year, this probably would have passed like that, because Trump's popular. Trump has coattails. Nothing bad has really happened yet, with the exception of this, the beginning of ICE raids.
Right.
It is now
the pardons of a bunch of people who engaged in political violence.
When the January 6th pardons, but that really hadn't worked its way into the political market yet. It is now December 2025, and Indiana Republicans in the Indiana Senate are saying, this is not a good idea, is it? Let's start reasserting our power as state legislators, because it's the states that run elections, not the federal government. Let's start asserting our power again. And if you have if you have MAGA people, and some of those guys are going to be MAGA people, kind of now saying they're going to be thinking about their next election. And if you can't have Trump on your pamphlets, you can't have Trump running up next to you. If he comes up in there and says, hey, I'm rigging the system so that, democracy dies, who's with me? And that the country is not with him, and the country is not about killing democracy. That, obviously, I just feel that's got to be part of the math there.
I mean, I think so, Chris. And it's also true that if you're going to gerrymander, if you're going to redistribute your seats so you can get just the right mix of voters to win all of the seats, right? What that also means is that you're making it more likely that in a real wave election, where the distribution of like Democrats to Republicans who vote is just off from the normal standard, right?
Yeah.
That you could end up seeing a lot of seats end up flipping.
Yeah.
That when, so there's a phrase to describe this: pigs grow fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So if you end up being a bit too greedy on this, you end up making yourself really vulnerable in a wave election to losing a large number of seats. And I think a lot of Republicans are looking at this and saying, look, man, I like my safe seat. I don't want to take a real risk of getting voted out just because Donald Trump decided to play God.
Yeah. And it does show a sense of political rationality that is, and political rationality is not human rationality. It is,
True.
How can I keep my job? Like, who do I have to help? Who do I have to tickle? Who do I have to punch? And sometimes both are babies. And you have to make some pretty tough decisions. But and some of those tough decisions, as in the case of these Republicans, in my opinion, is to, hold your nose or, cheer on the kidnapping of people off your streets, to cheer. But like I said, as we said many times, you can't mess with the money, and Trump is messing with the money pretty hard here. He messed with tariffs. And of course, in Indiana, where they do a lot of farming, a lot of people, and I don't want to say, because I know there's a lot of...
Oh, no, the corn.
Oh, actually, it's soy.
Oh, that's true. Oh, no, the soy.
Oh, and that's gonna probably play a huge role in this as well. That a lot of farmers are screwed. And I think there was some announcement of a couple, tens of billions that are going to be offered back to farmers.
Right. So we're gonna tax Americans to pay American farmers to compensate them for the fact that we're taxing Americans and just destroying their markets.
Yeah.
Like, it's really outstanding. It's just sort of like, let's do something economically stupid. Let's make the country poorer, and let's also drive a wedge between American farmers and the American public more broadly. If you're an American farmer, you're not looking at this and saying, oh, this is a great idea. Yeah, brilliant. I get, like, a handout from the government instead of being able to sell what I grow. That's every farmer's dream, Chris.
Yeah, it's to be subsidized. It's to be subsidized and supported by the state.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So
we're clearly seeing, some issue here with Trump's popularity over the next year now, a little less than a year. We're going to see midterm elections, and more and more you're going to see anti-Trump voters, and so in some cases, Democrats, getting enthused and getting their people out there. It's a matter that, now it's who's going to be more popular, who's going to get their side out more. And especially because they're local elections, it's a lot more disparate. So we're gonna, I think we're gonna leave it there.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. Because there's always more to talk about. We'll probably do a short at some point about Trump taking over a Venezuelan oil tanker.
Oh my God!
Committing a bit of piracy in the high seas.
Yo ho ho! I mean,
that oil.
Apparently, he did that under with actual congressional authorization. So this, because apparently the tanker, the accusation is the tanker was involved in
the trafficking of money and selling oil to somebody that you shouldn't be selling oil to,
breaking sanctions basically, and exactly. So, and if all that is true, then that would be like one of the first times that Donald Trump has done something legally in a while. It's been a while since he's actually done something according to the law. So.
So we can talk more about that in a short if we have any time in the coming weeks. So we're going to put this one to bed now. We'll be back in a few days to discuss whatever comes out from the Epstein documents that are by law required to be published in 4 days. And we'll see you there. But as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Ramshaw.
And we are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.